Live. All right. Welcome, guys. My name is Legacy, the Natural Birth Queen, and today we have Haley, Jodianne, Celine, Rihanna, and Nefertiti. And these are amazing, amazing women. They are doulas as well. They're part of the Legacy Birth Doula community. And we have decided that we were going to create like a podcast where we can just talk and share about our journeys of being doulas, but also like our natural approaches and our spiritual awakenings. And we have so many like cool, fun topics that we want to talk about with you guys. And of course, if you guys have a specific topic that you guys want us to touch on, you guys can put it in the comments and we will definitely start chatting about that too. So with that being said, welcome. We call it the Motherland podcast. And yeah, guys, we can start off with Nefertiti. She wants to share with us a little bit about herself. So yeah.
All right, so I want to talk a little bit about so I have some of my archives here laying out, so basically like my journals, and this was like before we even came up with the idea of like having a podcast and things like this. So I think it's like very interesting, like looking back now, noticing that like I spelled this out, like I manifested this. So yeah, so I also have like a poem that I'd like to share along with all of this as well.
Are you gonna share it now?
Yeah, I could start off with it. It's based off of what I remember from my past lives of what like birthing feels like. It's like pretty short.
Okay.
Breathe in, breathe out. Complete surrendering to the opening of portals after incubation has ended. Intense sensations of pure love and divine alignment. We created this love and with it a legacy.
Oh, you said you wrote that before, you wrote it now.
I wrote it before.
Wow.
This was I actually have the date here. It was February 1st.
Could you say it again? It was so fast. And I
Yeah.
think I want to absorb the words and be transported to where you are taking me with the words. So could you do it again, please? Thank you.
Okay. Breathe in, breathe out. Complete surrendering to the opening of portals after incubation has ended. Intense sensations of pure love and divine alignment. We created this love and with it a legacy.
Oh my God.
Nice.
That is now I really understand why you were talking about how it all spiritually aligns.
Yeah.
This was February when? This year? You were that February this year or last year?
Yep, it was this year.
Mm.
Yeah.
How old are you, Nefertiti, if you don't mind my asking?
Yeah, I am 17 in this lifetime.
In this
And
lifetime.
in this
Yeah.
life? She really is old. Well, not say old, but like, ancient because the words that comes out of her mouth, the things that she talks about, it is not the norm, and to be just 17 years of age, it means that your awakening started very early then.
Mm.
And I like you, like I'm
Yeah.
resonating with you. I'm not lost when you say anything. But I know like a lot of people would be lost. But we're speaking this. I understand the language that you are speaking in, and it's just so beautiful. You remind
Mm.
me of me, yeah,
Oh.
really. You get to me
Well, I
when the
mean,
time is good enough. When the time is mine. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we're all like just pretty much mirrors of different aspects of each other, so.
Yes, I feel like this day and age, there are so many young people, men and women who are just so spiritually awakened at such a young age.
Mhm.
I remember being very conscious and very awakened as a teenager, but feeling so isolated because,
Yeah.
there just weren't a lot of other people like me.
Yeah.
And it's just so beautiful that there are so many young people, like I said, who are vibrating on a high frequency and contributing magic to this earth, period. You know, my daughter is your age. She's 18 now, but she is just an incredible human being, and age is just a number for sure. That was a beautiful, beautiful poem.
Yeah, and like speaking of like being awakened at such an early age, like I used to be like so depressed about it, and I used to be like, there's literally nobody my age that I can get along with. Like I have no friends like that I can actually have a genuine discussion with. And then like that's actually part of the archives that I'm sharing. Like on January 9th of this year, I had an entry where I was like talking about like I'm glad that I'm doing all of this work now than as an adult, because like if I didn't do it now, then like I wouldn't be where I am now. And like I'm glad that I got to this space of like having y'all like in my like I guess like my energy and stuff. So I was like, I didn't realize it, but this day I was literally like, I literally wrote, I don't relate to most people my age, and that's okay. I would like to make more friends though, like actual high vibrational people. I think I'm getting there soon.
Love that.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to hear more about your story with your mom who had twilight sleep when she was delivering you. Because you shared a little bit about it, but like we didn't really get to hear like the depths of it, right, guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so was she the one sorry, the
Oh
one
yeah,
whose mom didn't get to eat a lot?
Yeah, so there was actually a lot that happened during my mom's pregnancy that I ended up noticing like manifesting in my life. Like she was heavily abused. She would have to clean all the time. I ended up having OCD. She had to like she was basically like starved by my biological father. He wouldn't let her eat anything. He would always talk about how she was like fat and like she wouldn't like mind you, she was like 95 pounds when she was pregnant with me,
Wow.
like dangerously underweight. And like it would be to the point where like the extended family would ask her like, are you sick, like are you okay? And like every time that like she would go over to visit family when she was pregnant of me, they would all be like feeding her. And like every time my biological father would try to chime in and tell her like, no, oh, don't eat that, like they would literally like shoo him away, and they'd be like, no, be quiet, you don't know what you're talking about, she needs to eat, you know. And then like my biological father, actually, she told me this, when she was like about 9 months pregnant with me, he actually like knocked her unconscious. And then she said that she heard my grandfather would call my dad because he was responsible for teaching me like everything that I know. Um, like he literally like hit him, and he was like, "You don't ever hit a woman." Like, and she was like hearing this all when she was unconscious. And then what else? So I was actually a month late. So that would make it like a 10-month pregnancy, and I was born on October 10th at 10:10 a.m. in like Egypt. So Egypt is like literally like the fifth gateway on earth, like so there's the throat chakra gateway pretty much. And so during my birth, it was my mom actually told me the story so many times. I have it like memorized. Yeah. So like she said that the day of my birth, it was scheduled. It was supposed to be a C-section. And she said that she was like my grandma was making like sandwiches for my older brothers, and when they all got in the car, my mom was sitting next to my second oldest brother, Ibrahim, and he was eating the sandwich, and as he was eating it, she noticed that there were like ants crawling all over the sandwich. So she grabbed the sandwich, wrapped it in a tissue, put it in her pocket, and she was like, "No, don't eat that. It has ants in it." And then when she got to the hospital, um, they told her to like change and like get in like a hospital gown. And she did, and she put her clothes on the bed, not like completely forgetting that the sandwich with the ants were there. And then like when the nurse came in, there was like a swarm of ants just like crawling all over the bed, all over the floor. And the nurse was like so embarrassed, and she was like, oh my God, like it's like usually really clean here. I have no idea how these got there. And then my grandma mentioned to the nurse, she was like, oh no, 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 it was a sandwich. She had a sandwich in her pocket, had ants in it. It's not y'all, I promise. And then my mom said that they had put her to sleep in the twilight sleep and it was a C-section. And my grandma actually told me this like one day out of nowhere. She told me like I was supposed to have a twin sister, but during the C-section, when they were cutting my mom open, they accidentally like slit her wrist while they were cutting her open, and she ended up dying. And she was like, "Don't ever tell your mother that I told you this." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then so that like when she told me that, I was like, "Oh, so that's the spirit that I've been seeing that looks exactly like me." I thought it was like just like my higher self or my shadow or something like that. I was like, "What what is this?" Right? And then whatchamacallit, then my mom told me like when she woke up from the twilight sleep, she felt like she had literally just been like gutted open like a fish. She said that like she was in a lot of pain, but the nurse said that she wouldn't allow her to even see me unless she got up and walked like back and forth in the hallway. And that's the only time she would get to like see me. And mind you, like she just got done having a C-section. So like, what do you mean like walk around? Like what? Like she just woke up.
Right.
But my mom, she said she really wanted to see me, so she gathered up all her strength and she got up and she walked. And then she walked back and then the nurse brought me to her. And my my grandma told me that my cord cutting for my umbilical cord was delayed because it was like wrapped around my foot a little bit and they were like trying to like figure out how to get it and it took like an hour and a half to like actually get it unwrapped and actually like cut the cord. And then when my mom like got me, she said I instantly like latched and started breastfeeding like right away. Like I was just like so hungry. And like she was like, "You were so stubborn. Like you did not want to come out. Like they literally thought that you were going to be dead in the womb." And
Mhm.
I was like, "Well, I'm not. I'm here." But yeah, and then she said that she had to go home that night and my biological father was driving and like if you know anything about him, he is a crazy driver. So he was like hitting pothole after pothole, driving fast, and she was like in a lot of pain and she was like, "Hey, please like slow down." And like he would not slow down. So she was in pain on the ride home too. And then she said most of the nights she would be like fast asleep while I was breastfeeding and my grandma would be the one to like put me on her chest like when I was hungry and she would like help a lot with like just like taking care of me because my mom was like so tired, especially like having to go home right after a C-section. And then she said it wasn't even a week and then like the entire family like made her like clean again. And like mind you, it's Egypt, so there's no like mops. So you would have to be like on your hands and knees with a rag like wiping the floor.
What year was this?
This was in like 2006.
Oh my God. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You would think that like this is something that would have happened like in the 16, 17, 1800s, and it was in
Hmm.
2006.
Yep. And like that's why it's like so important that we're here and in this space because like there's definitely a lot of women like going through probably this exact thing right now in other countries and like no one's talking about it. And I'm like, y'all, where are the feminists at? Like y'all will fight for everything else besides for like birth and
Oh, but
pregnancy.
feminists aren't who we're looking for. We're
Right.
looking for
Exactly.
the divine feminine, the great mothers. Feminists, they're all confused and they're all a distraction. They're all like a, what do you call it?
Exactly.
Agents. They're agents to the system right now because their whole upcoming or their whole existence was created, was engineered by the system. So you know
Yes.
how they put things in place to push you to think a certain way, and then they will plant certain narratives in your mind with certain movies or certain advertisements or
Yeah.
certain social incidents that they blow up so that everybody knows about it.
Yeah,
Um,
and then like back when
yeah.
I was like in high school, because like I dropped out like sophomore year, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like y'all are actually crazy. Um, whatchamacallit? Uh, I was like hearing like a lot of people in my generation like talking about like saying kill all men, and I was like, what are you talking about? That is the last thing we need right now. Like we need strong, real men by our sides right now,
Mhm.
because like there are protectors. Like what are like yeah, we can protect ourselves, but only to a certain extent. You know what I mean? Like and like that's the thing. It's like people want to be so quick to say like, oh, a woman can do anything a man can. It's like I
Oh,
mean, yeah, but like the thing is, I
no,
don't want
we
to be working
can't.
at no
We can't
oil
do
rig.
anything that they can do, and I don't want to do everything that they're supposed to do. It's very
Right,
exhausting. I mean,
right,
it's exhausting. We are designed to have feminine roles and masculine roles because there are certain things that the feminine ought to do to stay in her feminine zone, and there are certain things
Exactly.
that the masculine ought to do to stay in his masculine zone. And we come together and we create a new life and continue the cycle. Now it's just a bag of confusion. I mean, honestly, I am glad I am not living
Exactly.
in America or certain countries in Europe that is under the craft. I have to call it a craft, like some form of
yeah,
spiritual crafting that
yep,
has arrested the place with all these things. Pitney a tree, I'm 4 years old, and I'm reading parents complaining about how their children are being taught gender this and gender that. Like you scroll, you go on
Right.
some posts and you see like some kids in China doing certain things, and they're like, oh my God, look at these children. While in America, their children are confused about their genders, or teachers are telling students that they
Right.
can girl and a boy, and just a bag of confusion. I mean,
right. And like that's the thing, is like when I was in middle school, I literally like fell for that propaganda, despite the fact that I immigrated here, despite the fact that I had traditional values instilled in me, I still fell for that propaganda. And
you
like
will.
there was a time where I was like identifying as non-binary, where I was confused and I was like, oh, well, like, am I a man? Like, what's going on? I was like so confused. And it was largely to do with the friend groups that I was being looped into, like, that
Mhm.
were also repeating this propaganda. And it would be like so much to the point where like it's literally like a cult, because like the second that you try to say anything that's opposing, like they'll like call you a horrible person. They'll be like, oh, you're homophobic, you're transphobic, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not. It's just this isn't real gender dysphoria. Like that's not what this is. Because what I was experiencing was like trauma from sexual assault, like manifesting in very strange ways, and that's
Of
what like a
course.
lot of these like young women my age that are being looped into this are also experiencing, because when you ask all of them, a lot of them have went through sexual trauma. So it's like that kind of like wanting to distance yourself from any form of femininity because like you're scared that it's going to happen again. But like that's the thing, like why live in fear?
Right.
Wow.
And that was a big thing for me growing up, because I had dealt with that situation myself. And it wasn't that it was more of me questioning my sexuality. It was more of discomfort around that energy within itself, just because of that experience. And then knowing that it was used as a weapon. It was not used as a thing for pleasure. It wasn't used for anything of satisfaction. It was used as a weapon. It was used as I have this power and this control over you. And I would love to let you know that I can dominate you in this way. So it's before you could even discover yourself in that way. And so you have all these other energies that's coming into play, because you're still learning yourself. You're still trying to develop yourself, but then you already have programming from what other people placed and planted in you without you even um being aware that that's what it was. So then you go through these stages where you're like, okay, I'm asexual. I don't like sex, or I don't like I don't like being touched. I don't like this. I don't like that. When it's reality, it's just you don't understand how to formulate or concept what it is that you actually desire, because it has come from a space of not satisfaction. It wasn't of pleasure. It wasn't of you and your power and being able to stand in that. So I completely get how that those two can intertangle. But for me, it was more so the whole asexual spectrum where it's like, nah, I'm not into that. I don't like that. Because just because you just because of the energy that you were projected was projected upon you when it came to it.
Yeah, because like with me, I was also like having feelings of like, oh, like what if I'm asexual? And then like after a while, I was like, no, I have sexual attraction just only with people I have like an established bond with. And then I was like hypersexual at one point, and then it went back to like, oh, well, like I think I'm what they call like a gray asexual, where like you're only attracted to like people that like you actually love. But then I'm like, that's not a sexuality. That's how it's supposed to be. Like you shouldn't just be attracted to every
No,
single
what I'm
person.
seeing here, ladies, I'm also seeing titles, like so many titles, so many narratives. Like they create these titles for us. Not titles, I mean labels. Sorry. There's a lot of labeling: asexual, sapiosexual, transsexual, homosexual, or all kind of something, right? It's a part of the whole confusion thing. In terms of the sexual abuse, I myself went through that very, very early, where it skewed my whole concept of relationships. It literally skewed my whole concept of how a female is supposed to interact with a male. And then worsening that is I never got any form of guidance as to anything. It's like I am born and I am growing up cast to the wind, and it's my spiritual team that actually helped to navigate me through the darkest of times, and has made me reach here. My awakening started about 18 years ago, at about the same age as Nefertiti, and it went to a point, and then it got plucked from me, and that's a whole nother story. um but listening to you ladies now, and listening to all the seers and psychics and mediums that I've been finding on YouTube, delivering me divine messages, what I am understanding from the whole trauma thing and whole identity thing is that this is something that is deliberate. The world that we are living in is a spiritual and a physical world, and we are purposely not taught about the spiritual aspect of it, so that we can be enslaved by quote unquote the powers that were. I'm not going to say the powers that be, because I'm not empowering them, I'm disempowering them. So they are the powers that were. All these structures, from religion to food, no, not food, from religion to health to education, financing, all of these structures that make up this matrix world as it is being projected to us. The people that do this, they are high level magicians. They are high level witches and warlocks, and they do things on specific days. So Miss Nefertiti supposed to can. I mean, I know all about the days, the portals, and the times when certain energies are high, and they're doing these things. You'll see them in certain movies, but them tell it like it's a fairy tale thing, right? But it is happening. So there are certain places that about, like the what do we call them now, the ley lines, and certain areas where the so-called veil is thin, and they do things to cast spells upon the whole world, right? And then they reinforce it with the media and with government structures and laws and all these things, and then put everybody on one accord. And they're trying to plant one thought in everybody's mind with the same media, social media, the movies, the news, and a lot of it stems from trauma. So the technique is to traumatize and then capitalize. My God, it said that, Kanye. It's to traumatize us and then to capitalize off of us. But for
Yes.
the capitalization comes in many different forms. The harvesting that they harvest comes in many different forms. So they'll harvest our energy in different ways, our sexual energy, creative energy. They're just feeding off of us, right? And using our creative energy to create what they want. So for
Exactly.
example,
And, you know, we have to realize too that sexual energy is the most powerful energy that we possess because it creates life. And, you know, all of these things stem back to the dawn of time, you know, the fall of man, what have you. The oldest story in history, the story of creation, is about divide and conquer. You know, let's Bible for reference. Satan, what have you, he isolated Eve from Adam and deceived her into and tricked her into, you know, eating the apple, if you will, and that caused the first division.
So
And
I actually,
trick in the book is divide and conquer. It's to pit people against each other, create narratives that, you know, make us feel like
counterproductive.
we are, and make us feel like we're not one. Like even male and female, instead of realizing that male and female together create a unified energy, we're made to or programmed through whatever means to believe that we're different, we should isolate from each other, you know, and we're
And
taught
that's what
from
they
very young
want.
ages not to work together. But
That's
that's
what they
where
want.
we're having this gigantic shift in consciousness is you know, which is happening now. And we are all a part of this giant shift in consciousness and creating a new narrative and building a new world for the future. And these children that are being born are very special and they're very sacred and they have very important jobs to do. And protecting these children while they come through the portal onto Earth is so important as well.
Yes, yes.
and like
yes.
adding on to
We,
that,
and that's where we come in as birth workers.
exactly. And like adding on to that, like I want to add on to 2 points you mentioned. So, first of all, I want to talk about the story of Genesis in the Bible. So, what I found interesting, because I have both an Arabic Bible and an English Bible, right? The Arabic one, what's very interesting about it is instead of saying the serpent said to Eve, it says the life said to the woman. And like I find that very interesting because I'm
The what?
like,
The life?
the life said to the woman.
The life.
Yeah, and
Oh,
like the original story that they got for that, like that they were modified, it was actually
yeah.
like a common practice in ancient Kemet, so ancient Egypt. Like I hate when people like call it ancient Egypt because it was a one world empire. Like it wasn't like it was
Right.
everywhere. It wasn't just in Egypt. Like,
Yes.
and that, yeah, so that's what like I really don't like when they say that, but I have to say it for like reference for people to like understand what I'm talking about. But so in ancient Kemet, what they used to do when they would like anoint a king and queen is the queen, she would have to bring a fruit from the tree of wisdom, which was actually a fig tree, right? And she would take it to the king and give him the first bite, and that would give him wisdom, and then she would take the second bite, and then they would finish it together. And that's how they were anointed as king and queen. Yeah, and
So,
then like another thing, like real quick that I want to expand on that you mentioned was like the Great Awakening and the Great Shift happening. Like this is the one where like shit actually gets done because they messed up and they gave us phones where we can like literally contact anyone. We have social
and
media, like
internet.
Right, because the problem back then was that there weren't enough people that were reached that were awakened. But now we can reach the entire world. Like, they put that
They
power
thought they
in our
were gonna
hands, and
use
that's where
it.
they messed up.
They
Well,
thought
and
they
I
were gonna
this
use
this is
this World
even
Wide Web to web us into their own narratives, while Source has used it to flip it upside down. It's totally flipped upside down. You do have their agenda that they're still pushing, and quite a few people are gonna fall to it. But I tell myself that everybody can hold. Everybody can hold in Zion. We don't need everybody anyway. In Jamaica, they say too much rat never dig a good hole, right? So too many
yeah.
people in something kind of spoils it. So you have to be selective, and you have to put the
Mm-hmm.
right people in what it is that is supposed to be done. So I'm really glad to be a part of this group. I'm really glad to, for this podcast to be happening. I've thought about having one for myself, and you know, certain times I have certain ideas. It just feels so heavy, like it just feels like it cannot lift up, like it can't manifest. But here it is now, and it just the creation of this podcast and the accountability group and everything that just got birth in the past couple of weeks. It's showing me the whole beauty of manifestation, and it's showing me the power of the tongue and the power of words, and it's showing me the power of alignment, and it's making me much more confident in my future. It's making me more confident in my internal powers, knowing that I can create something in my mind. I can speak it out of my mouth, and it can take on flesh and happen. And I am gonna apply that to everything. I mean, I have so many ideas that's bubbling.
Same
Yes.
here. It's like since
And
joining
I think
this
it's so special that we've arrived at this point, and I'm
Yeah,
so excited to see the map we can create together as a group of conscious, empowered women who are
mhm,
going to just plant seeds of change and everywhere. It's just incredible.
yeah,
Yep. And like the funny thing is, it's like what I've noticed lately a lot is that all the energetic attacks that they've been doing has literally been all working in our favor. Like it's
Yes.
yeah.
like
That's
it's like they
manifestation.
try
Pressure makes diamonds, right? Pressure makes
so
diamonds.
right.
That's
Yes.
it.
It's like
There,
their
guys.
attacks
So
are like a boomerang. Like they send it out and it comes right back to them.
I follow this
Absolutely.
guy called Ralph Smart, right? And Ralph Smart says
Right.
they buried us, but they forgot we were seeds. They
That's
forgot that
it.
we ourselves are star seeds. Our children are star
Yes.
seeds, but we ourselves are star seeds. The crap that we've been through as children to traumatize us and to rip us apart and to kick us off our path. I mean, the fact that we found it, it shows that we ourselves are star seeds. We ourselves are chosen. We're ordained to do this,
Mhm.
Can I
and
can I
we
just say
just need
something?
to
Yes,
we
go
just
ahead.
need to do it. You know,
I've just been trying to chime in this piece since
Yes,
444 on the clock.
please do.
Yes,
yeah,
444,
Yes,
let's go.
everybody just, I was just talking yesterday about how numbers personally have changed my life, just being aware and open to the signs. But
Mhm.
specifically, a lot of the things you guys say, just they've really I've been able to implement them into my everyday life. And I feel the most confident and sure about my future than I ever have felt. And
Yeah.
a big part of that is knowing how to alchemize everything that you go through. And
Yep,
so I
exactly.
want you guys to use that word moving forward. It is a lot about like transforming and changing and growing and healing, but it's all alchemization. Like, what are you going to do with the trials, the lessons, the errors? What are you going to do with it all? And so I feel like we're
Right.
all at the right place at the right time. Like, I couldn't have picked
Exactly.
a better time to start this and to be on this journey. And I know that my brother, when I see the number 24 personally, I know that it's my brother talking to me. And that number was loud when I made this decision to join this class. And he still is carrying me through. I'm telling you, I pulled up just use it for everything. Because I pulled up at the courthouse to do something that I needed to do that I've been waiting a long time to do. And I look up and it says 24-minute parking. Of all numbers, 24-minute parking. And I had a spot right in the front, the very last spot. And so I just take that as I'm open and aware now to receive everything that is for me. And as long as I believe in that and that I rely on God and the faith and the strength that I have within me, all I can do is help the next person do this very same thing. And specifically with mothers, we run the world. And so that's all I had to say.
Yep. And it's like we could take different paths to get to the same space too. And that's just the interesting part about it. Because like I've told Legacy before, I've been following her on YouTube since like 2016, 17. And the first video I saw of her was her own natural home birth video. So in that space and time when I met her, I had already was going through my own healing when it came to birthing. And because I had a fear around it, like I was uncomfortable with it and I wasn't sure of alternatives at the time. I just knew that land birth was not for me. And I'm like, I don't know what it was. So when I stumbled across her, it was interesting. I'm like, oh, I would love for her to be my doula, just because like when I first seen her, I'm like, oh, just who's this little fairy that's, talking, delivering babies. Because when you had the wings and that's what she reminded me of. She reminded me of like
have a
this.
fairy energy with
Yes,
the
she
flowers around
reminds
the
me
head
of a
and
fairy.
green
And
hair.
so when I had first came
Beautiful.
across her and I was watching her videos and just how confident she was and how she spoke life into the life that she was bringing in versus things that I was seeing on the back end on how it was traumatizing for people. It's like I was watching, what was it? It was a show called The Baby Story, and it was something else that they would play on Discovery Health. Those were shows that I watched, and I just watched how traumatic those experiences were for women. And it's like I was feeling it in my body that I was so uncomfortable with that. Like, I don't want that. And so when I watched her and I knew her and all of that, I'm like, okay. So then when it came back around last year, when my husband and I was going through a situation with pregnancy, and I'm like, oh, this is time, full circle moment. She's going to be my doula this time around. Then things didn't work out with that one. But it turned back around that now she's training me and teaching me and helping me to become a doula myself, that I could potentially just we can deliver our child ourselves, So it's just interesting how you can take so many different roads and it still leads you back, no matter if they're throwing obstacles to try to deter you. What's meant for you is going to be meant for you. That alignment is still going to align itself regardless, because the universe naturally course corrects. The universe does that all the time. You don't have to do anything yourself. The universe and the cosmic energies, they're going to shift you in the space that you're supposed to be in, that you need to be in. And that's why I said the last call that we are exactly where we're supposed to be at the exact moment, at the exact time. And we're came together to unify, to help, because with collective power, that helps more with that collective shift. That helps us, especially with our own unique traits that we have, that we can provide within this service, and our service to people and our service to just families in general, because it's not just women. The bigger picture is always the family. We're in a space where we're helping bring that back, because the families are so broken, so disconnected, so dysfunctional nowadays. It's like it's time for that, because that collective community is necessary. That's how we did it before. We were in tribes and we had our groups, we had our people, we were in this foundation. And I just feel like now is back to that full circle as a bigger scale of us going back to nature. We're returning back to source, where we're returning back to our primary way of how things were supposed to be and how things are, after they created all of these systems and these constructs that have not been beneficial for us.
They knew it would have been. They were created purposely to disempower us and to have us run helter skelter. They already knew. Okay, so my knowledge comes from a vast areas, right? And what I've learned is that this planet originally, as we can tell, it's a feminine planet. And it's a feminine energy that dominates this planet, brings forth the life, and so on and so forth. This world got penetrated by a strong masculine energy. And over masculine energy then, and their whole objective was to come in to dominate and to subdue this earth, right? I don't know if any of you know Billy Carson, or any of you know probably Nefertiti with her Egyptian background, and all of what's going on with you, Nefertiti, maybe you know about it. But the folks that came here, they came here and they wanted to enslave us, make us a slave
Yeah.
race.
Yeah,
Slave
and
race
like
is
the
terrible.
early slavery, it was us mining gold for them because they had used up all of their gold on their land,
Mhm.
and they were like, "Oh, well, we don't have any, so we might as well steal some," you know? And like now it's gotten to the point where like they don't even need to, like, half the time, like at least before we shifted into the age of Aquarius, they didn't even need to try to do anything or say anything to keep us enslaved. Now they're doing so many attacks and trying so hard because like they see that we're waking up and they know that their end is coming and like they're
Yes, they
scared,
know the
they're
timing.
terrified.
They know everything already.
Yup.
But they thought that with the tactics that they're using, that they could subdue. But you know, it's already been written in all the many different books, not just the Bible, but all these different books. That's been out there. All these different prophecies that's been out there. It's been said already. So what they did is to purposely turn us upside down, inside out, right? This whole matrix, and it's a flip now. What was at the top is now at the bottom, as above, so below them, kind of something there, right? And
Right.
in how I'm seeing this now is that as a doula, is our job is really sacred, is really divine, and the
Mhm.
kind of knowledge that we are gaining, it's not midwifery textbook knowledge, right?
Right. This
It's
is like ancestral wisdom being passed down, you know?
yes.
Right.
And I remember that
Absolutely.
I wanted to partner with a midwife, right? But the more I listen to her talk, you know, I like my higher self is saying to me, like, what you do? Why you try go in at that? Where you going in that? That's not where you're supposed to be going. You and this woman, you and this system, you guys are opposites. You're not gonna do what they want, and they're not gonna like what you have to say. They're not gonna like what you want to do. So
I
just forget
Yeah.
about them and create something new. Jody is not about trying to partner with them or have them see it your way. It's cut them off and do your own thing, because you know where the earth is going. You know they are a
Yeah.
dying system, and you do
You
not want to
know,
go and die with the beast. So don't try to go in them thing. Do your own thing. Create your own center with your own
yeah.
rules, and create a whole new experience for moms. And that's how the shift is gonna come. You know.
Mhm. I
Right.
would,
Um,
like, if y'all don't mind, I'd like to like share like one of the spoken word poems that I'd written, like, I think this was January 6th.
Yes, I
Yeah.
think right before we do.
I just wanted to say really quickly, there's a difference between a midwife, which means with woman, and a
mhm.
midwife. Okay.
Yeah.
First thing, last point,
Mid and med.
because
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
they're
it's important that you touch on this, Rihanna, because
mhm,
every midwife is different depending on how they were trained. And some
yeah.
midwives, they do want to help and support women, but because of their licensing, they have to abide by certain rules or they will lose their license.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the thing with my midwife. Well, not my midwife, but the one that I was speaking to, because I asked her about water birth, and she's like, "Yes, I know about the water birth, but we're not trained to do it. We're not licensed to do it." And I'm like, "What in that for train? What kind of special training do you need to do that? You know,
Right. And
you know, the
that's
government,
why
this, that,
I
that."
work. That's why I work as a traditional midwife. I moved away from the NARM pathway because I do not I don't resonate with the things that NARM stands for. That's the North American Registry of Midwives. I don't want to uh, subject the women that I serve to things that are only for my protection and safety, because I want to protect my own ass, so to speak.
Right.
And
That's when you're an agent. When you
Right.
when you consciously know that what you're doing is foolishness, is wickedness, and you do it just the same because you want your paycheck to pay your mortgage, to pay for your car, to buy food, put in your house, and to live a certain lifestyle, then that's being an agent for the system. That's being a little demon, right? And
If only they knew that following God's pathway and purpose for your life lands you in the best position you could ever be in, then
but
you
a lot
know
of them don't know that. The
that's it.
society is designed to be godless, right? They mess with the concept of God so much that people don't even, I mean, they just can't even be bothered, right? And if the person doesn't have a strand of consciousness in them, they will be washed away with that wave of, what do you call them, the people that don't believe in God. They start with A, what do you call them?
They're atheists.
Yes, them, right? All these titles, right? You will get washed away in atheism. Rasta always said all these isms and schisms, right? So atheism is another school of thought to trap you in, to lose yourself. So they don't have heart, they don't have souls. And then they make you so dependent on the system. People don't go into nature to get food and medicine. You go into a death house, a place full of shells with things in boxes and jars, and when you look at the label, you can't pronounce half the things them what upon the back of the something. You cannot pronounce them. You don't know what you're eating. It tastes good, but you have no idea what it's doing to your body. I mean, there are
And
just
like,
so many things that we need to focus on. I
and
feel
like
that
it's crazy how like Bill Gates, who's running the food system right now, like it's crazy how like he literally will put it out what he's doing, but because
yeah,
people are
because
so
they have
brainwashed, they'll be like, oh my
to.
God, this is like a good thing. Because like in 2012 he released a newspaper article, it was the front cover, where he was talking about how they found a way to genetically modify corn to cause infertility to depopulate, and like people praised this and thought this was like innovative and like cool, and I'm like,
Yeah,
no,
because
like if
they teach
anything,
us
we
that the
need
world
these
is
souls to return.
overpopulated. They tell us that the world is overpopulated and they create all these cities and then they concentrate job opportunities within these cities and they cram up everybody in the cities and they have you living in some building and gone all the way up into the sky. It's just ridiculous and everything is just crazy. And when you watch futuristic movies, it's gonna get even crazier. There are some movies that showing you, oh, people gonna have to be buying oxygen.
And like
Them
that's the
want
thing,
people
is
to
like
start
I used to
buying.
joke about like, oh, I bet they're gonna start selling air one day. What do I see when I go to Speedway? Like a tank thing that like pumps air. Like, and you have to pay like $60 for it. And I'm like, they're
What do you
literally
do with
selling
that air?
air.
What is that air for?
I have no idea. I think it's like for like cars or something related to
Oh,
cars, but I'm like, why can't
mhm.
you just figure out a way to concentrate the air that's in the atmosphere? Like, isn't
Right
it the
now, there
same
is a
thing?
guy with a machine that's concentrating the air and getting water out of it. And
Right.
it's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. And then you hear that, oh, this knowledge is ancient. This is nothing new. There is nothing new under the sun. But are we gonna get back to the introductions? I know we're showcasing bits and pieces of ourselves based on the knowledge that we spit in. Well, not spitting, but the knowledge
I
that
think
we're
the
putting
introduction went
out.
out the window. Like we about to be wrapping up the podcast. The introduction, we introduced ourselves by just, I
By
mean,
just
the introduction
talking.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, like it
Yeah.
did.
And I
Right.
I want to share something really quickly before we end. I had one of my clients that I'm working with, her mom is a naturopathic doctor and she's, fighting the good fight as well. And she said to me the other day, she was just like watching me while I was working, and she's like, I just wanted to let you know that you're anointed by God. And I said, thank you so much for saying that. but in my head, you know, in my heart, I was like, I know that, you know, I know that, but I didn't want to sound arrogant by saying, yeah, I know that. Like, I know what I am. I know who I am. I know I'm doing God's work.
And that's so
But
good.
it was so refreshing to see that I was connecting with the right kind of people, the people that I intended to serve. And you know, before I came to Mississippi, the reason why I ended up here is because I had a vision that I was supposed to come to Mississippi and heal the South. And the wild thing about that is that my daughter had the same vision the same night, and we woke up that next morning and we were just making our breakfast and our coffee or whatever, and she's like, Mom, I had a vision. And I was like, oh yeah, what did you have a vision about? And she's like, we need to move to Mississippi because you need to heal the South. And I was like, whoa, like
Right.
literal, just like, okay, this is confirmation. And we did everything. We sold our house, we moved our whole family here, and I'm seeing the manifestation of God's vision for my life every day. And so every time God sends you a message or source, whatever you want to call it, that is guiding you onto your pathway, even if it's scary, don't ever hesitate to follow the direction that God is giving you for your life, because it will work out. And
I'm so
all of us
glad you said that.
have a purpose. Yeah, all of us have a purpose and a mission. And like you guys have been saying, I always tell people we are exactly where we're supposed to be, and we're doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing at every given moment.
Yep.
You know,
I'm glad that you said that. Was it
relinquishing.
one time you got that dream, or did you get that message like in many different ways over a period
It
of
was
time?
it was one time. You know, I was kind of struggling, like, what direction should we go in? What is next for us? Because I saw our life in Arizona was just crumbling, and I know when things are falling apart, it means it's time for change.
Yeah.
Instead of feeding into it and being like, my life is horrible, oh, the drama, I know that that is a signal from God that it's time to break down, you know, the current what do you say it, timeline, and move
Yeah.
on to the next timeline.
Wow.
Yep.
So just saying, okay, God, tell me where you want me to go next, tell me what it's, you know, to do. And then I had that dream, you know, and you need to go to Mississippi and heal the South. And by golly, the South needs healing, guys.
Big
Right
time.
now, I'm actually involved in fighting legislation here. Right now, Mississippi is a sanctuary for birth. Midwives can freely practice here. And I'm fighting legislation to preserve that right. And you know, yesterday I had to go to the Capitol, and I got recognized on the Senate floor as, you know, this midwife who's fighting
Wow.
to save mothers and babies, and it was just such an honor. And then the
So what
senator
exactly are you advocating for? Oh, you said the
keeping
one.
the NARM monopoly out of Mississippi, and preserving the right for traditional midwives to practice in this state.
Okay,
So,
you know, I got a post. I made a post on my page where I stumbled across it on another page, of course. It's about Black midwives.
yes,
Um, and they were saying that the midwives, especially the Black midwives, they are the ones that were supervising most of the birds, or pretty much
mhm,
all of the birds in the South, because they came with that knowledge
right,
from Africa, and they were
mhm,
very versed in it, and they were even delivering the babies of the plantation owners, and nursing them as well. So I did a bit of history in school, but you know, you just doing it to pass the test, right? You weren't really doing it
right,
to absorb all of that information. So I had bought those books, and God is telling me that I need to go pull up that book. It's a book on transatlantic slavery, and it's a book that holds records of infant, everything to do with birth on the plantations, infant mortality, the birth rates, the mortality rates of the mothers, the conditions that they had to birth the babies and raise the babies in, how quickly they had to go back to work after the baby was born, the tactics the moms used to delay weaning the baby so that they would get more time to rest, how early the baby had to start working also, because by the time they reach 5 or 6, they had to start working. So God is putting me in many different directions. But yes, so Rihanna.
Yeah, I can resonate with that, Rihanna, because I've been felt caught south too. And I've been feeling caught south for like years, but just never understood what it was for. So when I got into this and I started to like feel more into it, like would I get clientels here in Texas? Would I do that in Houston? And it doesn't feel like it, you know? So now it's in this transitional space. It's like, no, this is why you're going that way, because you're going back to your roots of where all of these things started. Because a lot of family came from that area. So it's like knowing that
for me, it's like so important to bring Black midwives back into this state, and like that is my mission right now, is to train. I want to train a tribe of Black midwives back up in Mississippi to serve these communities. And, you know, it is just such a specific need. And, you know, why? Why does it have to be about Black or white? Because Black women are dying. They are dying at extraordinary rates in childbirth in this state, and their babies. And, you know, these women need help. And so, girl, if you want to come learn midwifery, come on.
Yeah, and like with like all the callings and stuff, like I've always wanted to go back to Egypt, because Egypt right now is under so much propaganda, and like people are already awakened to the fact that the government's like trash, but they just don't know, like they don't have the courage to do anything about it. They don't have the information to like start a peaceful resistance and or any of that. Like midwifery completely disappeared out of Egypt. Like it used to be so rampant, like back when, even when I was young, like when I was young and living there. And like I genuinely feel called to go back and like assist with awakening many of the women there, because I feel like a lot of people there want to have this information, want to have this knowledge. And I think that, you know,
the C-section rate in the Middle East, the C-section rate in the Middle East is extraordinarily high as well. So you definitely
let me ask a question, because it's time to wrap up. Do you think it wise to exchange numbers, like WhatsApp numbers, and then we can call one another and have like group calls outside of you know, Legacy's time, so that we can continue you know, doing what we do? Because I don't think it's a 1-day thing or a 2-day thing. I think we should constantly be present, keep showing up, keep the energy going. That's what I think.
I 100% agree.
So I'm gonna drop my number here. It's on WhatsApp, because Legacy has to go. And we are pregnant with knowledge, and it's very important for us to share, get different perspectives and stuff. So there is my number. And I can drop those and I'll save them and then link you guys.
All right, I guess I'll close off with the poem now.
Yeah.
Okay. Distant dreams flood my schemes.
Can you guys hear Legacy?
Huh?
Can you hear me?
Could you hear Legacy?
Yeah,
kind of. It was really quiet for a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
I was thinking of, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
I was thinking of also opening up extra day for a hangout, and it'll just be like and time where you guys can all like come into the chat. I'll probably be like this, but it gives you guys the ability to all like come in and talk without me there and hang out and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good too.
Yeah.
All right.
That would be nice. Real nice. Yeah, I can see that.
Little hangouts. But yes, I loved everything that you guys were sharing. And I love that, you know, you guys all have different perspectives. And I love to like amplify those voices, even though, you know, everybody is going to be coming in watching with different perspectives, coming in from different times of their lives. Some people have different medical backgrounds. Some might look at it everything in a more ancestral way. Some people will be looking at it from a more medical way. And it's it's a safe place where we can all share our thoughts and open up our minds. And it's okay to, like, I love all the things that Jodianne says, because it's the things that like nobody else says, but we're all thinking it.
Yeah.
So,
Really, like what?
so I love it. I love it. But I do also want to keep in mind that we are very understanding that there are low risk pregnancies, there are high risk pregnancies, and we are open to supporting all women, and with midwives, with nurses, with different medical backgrounds as well. There isn't like a judgment based, you know, we're just speaking for the women who feel that they aren't spoken up for enough. Like the woman, there's so many platforms for C-section deliveries. There's so many platforms for medical births, but there's not a lot of platforms for women trying to do it the natural way. And of course, we do support all kinds of birth experiences, but I do think it's important for like the moms who feel like when they go into the hospital and like they say they want to have a lotus birth and everybody looks at them like they're crazy, that they have a place where they can come to and feel like, okay, I'm not crazy. There's other women who feel
Mm-hmm.
to what I'm experiencing. So
Mm-hmm.
love that. So yes, let's close off with Titi's poem. And
Okay.
yeah.
Distant dreams flood my schemes, stitches and seams, yet I cannot be seen. It remains not how it seems. These are journeys, not dreams. Lips on a bottle, disengaged models, ripples and puddles. I create vibrations from my inner drum, and I make music and hum to the drum. I am creatress, lips the shade of plums, the sweetness of berries within my gums, ancient beats, hymns and rhythms, hips that swing and intoxicate the serpent, and intoxicate, and the serpent enters its gate. The waterfall echoes, distant splashes, dewdrops in the morning, and my butterfly lashes, honey eyes, crystal clear as skies. I am divine, I feel just fine. Actions intertwine with your energy reaching into my spine. Kundalini, ashe, ashe. I am guarded by the swords. I am divine power, no need to prove. My powerful silence preserves your roofs. Have you forgotten the three truths?
I love that. That was so
I think you need to post it so that we can
Oh.
read it slowly, line by line,
Okay.
and absorb everything, you know? Like write it up and then post it in like the group.
Yeah, I definitely will.
she's talented. She's able to do a lot of things.
Yes.
Thank you.
Alrighty, my beautiful girls.
Despite everything, despite all the, everything.
She's been through.
Yeah.
Like
And
she's
she's
lived
just started. Like she's just 17, yo. I'm so excited for you. I hope one day we get to meet, we get to link up and work on some projects. Yes,
Yes,
Miss
same
Nefertiti.
here.
Alrighty, Queen. So we did it. Episode 1.
Woohoo!
Woo!
All Alrighty, so that's the end of our podcast, and we will see you guys in our next episode, which is going to be even more fun and deep, as we have many topics that we want to share with you guys. And if you guys have some suggestions that you guys want us to talk about, leave it in the comments down below.
Okay, I'm suggesting from now that